perfect family portrait, frozen in time. But something lurks beneath the surface, unseen by most. It was a bright, sunny afternoon in the year 1908 when the Johnson family gathered outside their old wooden home for a rare and formal photograph. The air was still, the warm sunlight casting gentle shadows on the weathered porch where they stood. The family dressed in their Sunday best, arranged carefully by the photographer who patiently adjusted his bulky camera. The father stood tall, his stern face framed by a well-groomed mustache, while the mother wore a delicate lace dress, her expression serene. Their children, ranging from toddlers to teenagers, stood close, eyes fixed on the lens. Behind them, the creaky porch, with its faded paint and worn floorboards, seemed to hold countless stories from years gone by. At first glance, the photo captured a perfect moment, a symbol of unity, pride, and legacy. But, as with many old photographs, the surface tells only part of the story. A subtle anomaly caught the eye of a distant relative many years later. Beneath the porch, in the dim shadows where sunlight barely reached, there appeared to be a vague shape, an outline almost human, blurred but unmistakable. No one at the time noticed it. It was a hidden presence, lingering just out of sight. How could someone have been there, unnoticed by the family and photographer alike? This question would become the seed of a mystery that spanned generations. The figure was not merely a trick of light or shadow, as some might assume, but something more deliberate, a person hiding, watching, or perhaps trapped. The photograph, once a simple family keepsake, became an enigma that demanded answers. For decades, the photograph remained tucked away in an attic trunk, forgotten amid yellowed letters and faded memories. It was only when a great-grandchild discovered it, dusting off its brittle frame, that the past began to whisper again. The once-forgotten shadow sparked curiosity and unease. Who was this hidden figure? Why was someone concealed beneath the porch during such an important occasion? These questions opened a door to a labyrinth of family secrets, lost histories, and local lore. What followed was a journey not just into old records and photographs, but into the very heart of the family's untold story. This tale blends historical investigation with eerie possibilities, as each new discovery peels back layers of silence and denial. It reveals the complexities of family life in early 20th century rural America, where social status, unspoken shame, and hidden lives often collided behind closed doors. The photograph stands as a testament to the things people tried to hide, both literally and figuratively. As we delve deeper, we come to understand that some shadows are not simply accidents of light, but echoes of the past that refuse to be forgotten. This is the story of a perfect family portrait, and the secret someone desperately wanted to keep buried beneath the porch. The Johnson family was typical of many early 20th century rural households. At the head stood William Johnson, the patriarch, a stern yet caring man who had built the family farm from the ground up. Beside him was his wife, Margaret, the matriarch, known in the village for her warm heart and unwavering strength. Their 4 children, Eliza, Samuel, Clara, and young Henry, stood in order of age, dressed in their best clothes. Eliza, the eldest daughter, was already helping with household chores, while Samuel, the oldest son, was poised to take over the farm one day. Margaret's mother, the grandmother Sarah, stood slightly apart but clearly proud of her family, wrapped in a heavy shawl. The uncle, Joseph, a quiet man with a shadowed past, lingered at the edge of the group. Each member represented a piece of the family's legacy, a lineage stretching back generations. In 1908, family photographs were a rare and precious commodity. Unlike today's instant snapshots, photos were costly and required careful planning. Families often saved for months just to afford a single photograph. A professional photographer would come to town only occasionally, bringing his large, bulky camera and cumbersome equipment. Posing for a photograph was a serious affair. Everyone had to wear their best clothes and hold still for several minutes. The slow shutter speeds meant even a slight movement could blur the image. For the Johnsons, this portrait was more than just a picture. It was a statement of pride, unity, and hope for the future. The photographer, a man named Mr. Harding, set up his camera on a tripod near the porch steps. His equipment was heavy and awkward, a far cry from modern cameras. He instructed the family patiently, telling them where to stand and how to hold their posture. The children fidgeted nervously, trying to remain still, while the adults maintained solemn expressions. Mr. Harding worked quickly but carefully, understanding the importance of capturing a perfect image. Once ready, he covered the camera lens with a black cloth and carefully released the shutter, counting the seconds before removing it. The family waited in silence, aware that the moment was fleeting yet significant. The Johnson family home was a modest wooden structure typical of early 20th century rural America. Built from weathered pine planks, the house had stood for decades, bearing the marks of time and the changing seasons. Its roof sagged slightly in places, and the white paint was peeling in patches. A small chimney puffed faint smoke from the kitchen hearth inside. The porch where the family posed was an important feature, a place for greeting neighbors, resting after a long day, and sometimes sheltering from the rain. It was made of sturdy but creaking wood, its boards worn smooth by countless footsteps. Beneath the porch, however, was a different story. The space underneath was shadowy and dark, a hollow cavity just big enough to hide a person or animal. The floorboards above allowed thin slivers of light to pierce the gloom, casting shifting shapes on the dirt below. The area was often forgotten, except by curious children or stray animals seeking refuge. It was the perfect place to hide, unseen from most angles, and yet close enough to hear the sounds of the family above. Was someone hiding there on that day? So what was their reason? Curiosity? Fear? Or perhaps a secret too dangerous to reveal? The house and its porch were silent witnesses to the family's lives, holding memories in their creaks and shadows. To the Johnsons, it was home, a place of love and hardship, tradition and change. Yet, as we will later discover, the space beneath the porch held a secret that would unsettle that very sense of safety and belonging. Once the photograph was taken, the family gathered around to see the image printed on delicate photographic paper. The technology of the time meant developing the photo could take days, but anticipation ran high. When the final print arrived, the Johnsons were delighted. The photo captured them as they wished to be remembered, strong, united, and dignified. They carefully framed the picture in an ornate wooden frame and placed it in the parlor, where visitors could admire it. For many years, the photograph was a treasured keepsake, passed down through generations. It was a reminder of the family's roots and resilience. No one at the time noticed anything unusual about the image. The shadow under the porch went unnoticed, overlooked as an odd play of light or a smudge on the glass. The family's focus remained on the proud faces and the memory of that special day. The photograph's initial reception was one of joy and pride, free from suspicion or fear. Yet, time and curiosity would cast new light on the image, revealing that some secrets are never meant to stay hidden forever. Nearly a century after the Johnson family posed proudly on their porch, the photograph was found once again, but under very different circumstances. A young descendant named Emily stumbled upon the image tucked away in a dusty trunk in her grandmother's attic. The photo was fragile, its edges curled and faded from years of neglect. Though the crisp details had softened with time, the family was still unmistakably recognizable, their faces, clothing, and the weathered house clearly visible. As Emily carefully studied the photograph, a curious detail caught her eye: a faint, shadowy figure lurking beneath the porch. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, or perhaps some dirt or damage on the photo surface. But the shape was too distinct to ignore. The discovery sent a shiver through her. What had been hiding unnoticed for so long? Emily's curiosity grew, and she shared the photograph with other relatives. Many had never seen the image before, and none recalled hearing stories about anyone hiding under the porch. The photo, once a symbol of family pride, suddenly felt layered with mystery and unanswered questions. How could someone have been present during the photo but remain unseen? Was it a forgotten family member, or a stranger? The decades-old picture became a puzzle begging to be solved, its secret waiting patiently in the shadows. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily sought the help of experts in photography and historical analysis. Using modern technology, they scanned the photograph at high resolution and applied digital enhancements to clarify the faint figure beneath the porch. Software zoomed in on the shadowy shape, revealing outlines that resembled a person crouching or sitting in the darkness. The image was grainy and imperfect, but the shape was unmistakable. Forensic photo analysts debated whether the figure could be a result of double exposure or a photographic artifact, but many agreed it looked intentional. Someone had concealed themselves deliberately. Speculation ran wild. Could it be a child hidden away from the world? A servant seeking shelter? Or a visitor with unknown motives? Theories ranged from plausible to eerie. Some thought the figure might be a family member who was ashamed or scared, hiding from the world. Others wondered if it was someone from outside the family, perhaps a transient or even someone seeking refuge. Each guess added layers to the mystery, deepening the intrigue surrounding that forgotten day. To gather more clues, Emily and her relatives began interviewing elderly family members and neighbors who remembered stories passed down through generations. What they found was a patchwork of conflicting tales. Some recalled whispers of a hidden child, born out of wedlock and kept secret due to the strict social norms of the time. Others mentioned a servant who mysteriously disappeared shortly after the photo was taken. There were rumors of a stranger who had come to the house briefly and then vanished. Yet, many of these stories lacked confirmation and often contradicted one another. The mixture of truth, rumor, and silence only heightened the mystery. Some relatives were reluctant to speak, hinting that family secrets had been buried intentionally to protect reputations. The atmosphere grew thick with unspoken tension, as the past refused to be fully revealed. Each story, true or not, suggested that beneath the picture-perfect image, a darker, hidden narrative had unfolded. To better understand the photograph's mystery, Emily researched the town where the Johnsons lived. In the early 1900s, the small rural community was struggling with economic hardships and social divisions. Agricultural downturns had left many families vulnerable, while strict class distinctions dictated who could live where and with whom. Racial tensions and social prejudices added to the complexity of daily life. Against this backdrop, families often guarded their privacy fiercely, fearing gossip and judgment. Local legends also added another layer to the story. Some villagers whispered about the Johnson house being haunted by a restless spirit, seen sometimes beneath the porch at dusk. Others recalled tales of strange noises and fleeting shadows in the night. Whether these stories were based on fact or folklore, they reflected the community's sense of unease about the house's hidden past. The photograph, then, was more than a snapshot. It was a window into a world of secrets shaped by social pressures, fear, and possibly sorrow. As Emily delved deeper into the mystery, she uncovered old letters and diaries tucked away in family trunks. These fragile pages hinted at tensions within the Johnson household. Whispers of disputes, financial struggles, and strained relationships. One letter mentioned a hidden burden that the family wished to keep secret, though it never specified what that burden was. Such cryptic references only fueled speculation about who might have been concealed beneath the porch. Could this burden have been a child born out of wedlock, a runaway servant, or even someone suffering from illness hidden away from prying eyes? The silence around these issues spoke volumes about the era's strict social codes and the lengths families went to maintain appearances. Meanwhile, local historians began to examine property records and census data from 1908 and the years surrounding it. They noted several anomalies: missing names, unusual gaps in household listings, and reports of transient workers passing through the area. The Johnson home, it seemed, had been a crossroads for many lives, some of which left little trace. These gaps in the official records suggested that the figure beneath the porch might have been someone who existed on the fringes of society. A secret visitor, a displaced person, or even someone deliberately erased from family history. Each new piece of evidence deepened the enigma, reminding all involved that history is often written in shadows as much as in light. As the mystery of the figure under the porch deepened, several theories emerged to explain who or what it might be. One possibility was that the shadowy presence was a hidden family member, perhaps an illegitimate child or a relative who had run away from the family and sought refuge beneath the porch. In early 20th century rural America, such secrets were often kept tightly under wraps due to the harsh social stigma surrounding illegitimacy or scandal. Families sometimes went to great lengths to hide inconvenient truths, hoping to preserve their reputation and social standing. Could this figure have been one such secret, caught in a frozen moment but erased from the family's public narrative? Another theory suggested the figure was a servant or farm worker who had taken shelter underneath the porch. Servants, laborers, and itinerant workers were common in rural communities, but they were often overlooked or marginalized. Sometimes these individuals lived on the fringes of households, invisible to the family but essential to its functioning. It's possible that a servant had sought a moment's respite or hid due to fear or uncertainty on the day of the photo. Alternatively, the figure might have been a trespasser or homeless person, someone passing through, desperate for shelter and unnoticed by the family or photographer. Lastly, local superstition lent a more supernatural angle. Some believed the figure was a ghost or spirit tied to the house, haunting the porch where family secrets rested. The presence might not have been physical at all, but an echo of the past captured by the camera's lens. To separate fact from speculation, researchers turned to historical documents in an attempt to clarify the family's story and the mystery figure's identity. Census records from 1900 to 1910 were scrutinized for names and household compositions. While the Johnson family appeared straightforward, there were curious absences. A child born around 1907 was listed in some documents but missing from others, raising questions. Birth and death certificates were searched for unexplained gaps or discrepancies. Local newspapers from the era sometimes mentioned disappearances or unusual events involving the family or their neighbors, but nothing definitive connected to the photograph. In addition, records of servants, lodgers, or transient workers in the town were examined. Occasionally, names of people working on the farm surfaced, but many left no lasting trace in official records. Some were reported missing or moving frequently, suggesting lives lived on the margins and away from public record. These missing fragments in the historical record hinted at a hidden world behind the picture-perfect family facade. Yet, despite exhaustive searches, no conclusive evidence identified the figure beneath the porch, leaving the mystery tantalizingly unresolved. Seeking insight, the family and investigators consulted a range of experts to better understand the photograph and its enigmatic figure. Photographic historians explained the technology and limitations of early 20th century cameras, noting that slow shutter speeds and exposure methods sometimes created ghostly blurs or shadows. They assessed whether the figure could be a photographic anomaly such as double exposure or a shadow cast unintentionally. While such effects were possible, many agreed the shape under the porch seemed too deliberate to be an accident. Paranormal investigators weighed in with theories of spirits and hauntings, pointing to local legends and unexplained phenomena reported in the area. They argued the photograph might have captured an apparition or residual energy tied to the house's troubled past. Meanwhile, psychologists offered a different perspective. Families often hide painful truths, whether shameful secrets or trauma, and descendants become obsessed with uncovering these mysteries as a way to connect with their roots or make sense of unresolved histories. The figure under the porch, they suggested, symbolized the shadows lurking in family narratives, both literal and figurative. Advances in scientific methods provided another avenue for investigation. The physical photograph underwent careful testing to determine its authenticity and whether it had been altered. Experts used infrared and X-ray photography to look beneath the surface layers of the print, searching for signs of manipulation, overpainting, or hidden markings. These tests confirmed the photo's age and authenticity, and revealed no obvious signs that the image had been deliberately altered. Infrared imaging also helped clarify the shadow beneath the porch, showing faint but consistent contours of what appeared to be a crouching figure. No hidden text or symbols were discovered, but the technique reinforced the idea that the figure was part of the original photograph. Scientific analysis thus supported the theory that someone had indeed been physically present, concealed beneath the porch during the photo session, and not just a trick of light or damage on the print. This finding lent weight to the notion of a long-held secret now finally uncovered. After months of research, interviews, and analysis, the most plausible identity of the figure beneath the porch finally came to light. The evidence pointed toward a long-lost relative, a child born out of wedlock to the Johnson family patriarch, William. Family letters, hidden diaries, and genealogical records suggested that this child had been deliberately kept secret due to the social stigma of the time. Born just months before the photograph was taken, the child, named Thomas, was said to have been hidden from the public eye to protect the family's reputation. Some accounts hinted that Thomas was frail, perhaps suffering from illness, and spent much of his short life away from view. Tragically, there were whispers that he had died young and quietly, his existence erased from official family histories. The notion of Thomas hiding under the porch during the family portrait was chilling yet poignant. It explained the shadowy figure's crouched position, a frightened child watching his family, yearning to be part of their world but forced to remain hidden. This discovery cast the photograph in a new, heartbreaking light. What once appeared to be a simple family image now carried the weight of loss, shame, and sacrifice. The secret that had been buried for over a century was finally brought into the light, changing how the Johnson legacy was understood forever. The revelation had a profound impact on the current generation of Johnson descendants. For some, it was a moment of sorrow and regret, realizing the depth of pain and silence that had shaped their family's history. Others felt a strange sense of connection to Thomas, the hidden child, as if finally acknowledging a missing piece of their identity. The discovery sparked difficult conversations about the cost of secrets, how the desire to preserve family honor had led to isolation and heartbreak. Family members wrestled with the tension between honoring tradition and embracing truth. The old reluctance to speak of scandal gave way to a need for healing and openness. Many expressed gratitude that Thomas's story was no longer forgotten, that the shadow beneath the porch was no longer just a mystery, but a remembered life. This emotional reckoning reminded them that history is not only made of proud moments but also of quiet suffering, and that uncovering those stories is vital to understanding who they truly are. Alongside the historical revelations, local legends about the Johnson house took on new meaning. Villagers recounted strange sounds heard near the porch at night, soft footsteps, whispering voices, and the occasional glimpse of a small figure in the moonlight. Some believed the house was haunted by Thomas's restless spirit, trapped between worlds and yearning to be seen. These stories had circulated quietly for generations, dismissed as superstition but now gaining credibility in the wake of the photograph's discovery. Paranormal enthusiasts suggested the photograph itself might act as a portal, capturing more than just light and shadow, perhaps a message or imprint left by Thomas, reaching out across time. The eerie presence beneath the porch became a symbol of unresolved grief and lingering memory. Whether ghost or metaphor, the figure reminded all who saw the photograph that some secrets transcend death, echoing in the spaces we least expect. The family portrait was no longer just a picture, but a haunting testament to the hidden stories that live beneath the surface of every family's past. The photograph of the Johnson family, taken on that sunny afternoon in 1908, remains an enduring enigma. What began as a simple family portrait has unfolded into a haunting mystery. A shadowy figure hidden beneath the porch, captured forever yet unseen for decades. Through painstaking investigation, the figure's identity emerged as a long-lost child, a secret kept hidden due to the rigid social conventions of the time. Yet even with this revelation, the photograph refuses to give up all its secrets. It reminds us that history is layered, often concealing more than it reveals. This portrait challenges us to consider how much of our past is lost to silence and forgotten stories. Old family photographs are windows into moments frozen in time, but they are also puzzles, revealing glimpses of what was and what was hidden. Can we ever truly know the whole story behind these faded images? The shadows lurking beneath the surface often remain just out of reach, shaped by the passage of time, selective memory, and the unspoken truths families carry. As we reflect on the Johnson family story, we are invited to look closer at our own histories. What secrets might lie buried in the photographs tucked away in attics, in the stories our elders never tell? Behind every smile, every carefully posed face, there may be shadows waiting to be uncovered, stories of love, loss, shame, or resilience that shape who we are. A moment frozen in time, but shadows linger beneath. Who was hiding under the porch, and why were they never seen again?